In this video we'll talk about scientific management. Taylor developed his theory of scientific management in his book The Principles of Scientific Management. So this is the starting point for any discussion on scientific management. We can trace it all back to Taylor. In his publication he states that in the past the man has been the first. In the future the system must be first. So he sees the system as, in a sense, more important than people. People facilitate the system. People work within the system and they enable the system to function. But it's the system that is most important. Taylor discusses how productivity could be increased by applying scientific methods in managing workers. Now, by scientific methods we mean here measurement, measuring the work, measuring the time it takes to complete particular tasks, working out how many employees are required, estimating the time that they can apply themselves to the tasks. And so it's taken a much more quantitative approach to management, measurement and calculating approach to management. Scientific management methods provide guidance on how productivity could be increased and the workforce made more efficient. So it is aimed specifically at increasing productivity and improving efficiency. So there's nothing in this theory to talk about the human condition or talk about motivation or any of those factors. This is simply aimed at increasing productivity and increasing efficiency. He explains this by suggesting that tasks could be altered to improve performance. So the scientific approach to management is a constant quest for efficiencies, looking at tasks, looking at ways of improving the tasks so that productivity is increased, more output can be achieved, more efficiency can be achieved by redesigning the tasks, by reordering the schedules and by generally looking at what is required, looking at the work that's required and trying to be more analytical about its delivery. Employee skills and expertise are matched to specific jobs where they can improve performance and efficiency. So it's a question of looking at the employees and looking at their competencies and their skills and their abilities and then allocating the employees to appropriate tasks. So the employees are allocated to the tasks much in the same way as we would allocate a machine to a particular task or use a particular piece of technology under a certain set of circumstances. So the people were allocated to tasks according to their abilities and aptitudes. Taylor called this the one best way, and we're going to talk for a little about the one best way. First of all, let's look at the reasons for inefficiency. During Taylor's career in the steel industry, he identified factors that he believed was the cause of inefficiency. So he worked in the steel industry and he worked out the causes of inefficiency as he saw them. Soldering. Now we're here talking about the steel industry, bear in mind. Soldering and the pig iron experiment. So let's have a word about this soldering issue and then the pig iron experiment. First of all, start with soldering. Well, employees believed that becoming more productive caused the elimination of jobs. So the employees were reticent to become more productive because they were worried that by becoming more productive then less workers would be required. So some workers would be made redundant as a consequence. So it was the employees in their interest, as they saw it, to not be very productive. The wage system encourages low productivity. If employees get paid the same amount each month, they would produce low levels of output as there is no incentive to produce more. If they're getting the same every month, then why work harder? There's no incentive to work harder. Effort is wasted on the rule of thumb method. The rule of thumb is this is what the salary that's paid, the appropriate salary to the employees, and this is how we do the job. This is these are the tasks that are undertaken, and it's not very scientific, it's not very precise, it's not very accurate. The job specifications are not well designed and well thought out either. So it's all rule of thumb. It's all very much approximations and hit and miss. So he saw this as a waste of effort. So he learned from his observations of soldering, as he called it, within the steel industry. The pig iron experiment, well, iron was loaded onto rail cars by employees, each weighing 92 pounds, and this was known as the pig. So the iron was loaded onto rail cars, or onto railways, if you like, by the employees, and the iron was in quantities of 92 pounds, in batches of 92 pounds, known as the pig. On average, 12.5 tons were loaded onto the railways carts, or onto the rail cars, as the Americans would say. Taylor believed by the application of scientific management he could increase this to 47 or 48 tons per day. Moving it from 12.5 tons to, say, 48 tons is a very dramatic increase. Well, it's a fourfold increase, but a very dramatic increase in productivity. Now, he achieved this by matching jobs to employee skills and capabilities. So he carefully looked at the employees, what they were capable of doing, what they were good at doing, and he matched the employees to the tasks. He got the correct tools and equipment and made those available for the employees to undertake the tasks satisfactorily. So he ensured that the employees had the right tools and equipment. He made clear the instructions about the tasks that were required from the workers, so they knew exactly what to do, they had the right tools and equipment, and their capabilities were matched against the requirements of the job. And also he provided higher wages, and this was to create worker motivation. So higher wages creating worker motivation. Taylor's method of scientific management increased productivity by 200%. So here was a situation where Taylor, in the steel industry, looking at what's known as the pig iron experiment, loading iron onto railway cars, he worked out that by allocating the jobs correctly, by giving them the right tools, giving them the right instructions, giving them the right incentives to work, productivity would increase dramatically, as indeed it did. Taylor devised 4 guidelines which he believed would achieve the one best way objectives. First of all, develop a science every aspect of an individual's work. This will then enable the replacement of the old thumb method, the old approximation method. So develop a science for every aspect of the individual's work. Develop a measurement, a metric. Develop a metric, develop a measurement. Find out what the tasks are, how long it takes to do them, what are the issues involved in performing the task, what tools are required, what skills, competencies, and so on. So develop it so that there is good knowledge about the task and what's required in the task. Don't just rely on the fact that there is a worker and there's a task, and put the two together and hopefully a result will come out. The old rule of thumb, that's how, just let it happen and see what happens and make the best of it. So this was a much more scientific, calculated approach to tasks. Scientific selection, providing sufficient training and development for employees, instead of allowing them to choose their own tasks. So the employees were selected for their particular tasks according to the observations of management regarding their skills, abilities, their aptitudes, their diligence, and so on. And then applying the employees to the task. Much more scientific, much more thought out approach. Cooperation between managers and workers to ensure the job is done to the best of their ability and in accordance with the scientifically devised procedures. So there should be cooperation between the managers and the workers, between managers and employees, to ensure the job is done to the best of their ability. When there are issues that the employees are confronting that are difficult, the management can come along and help and make suggestions and guidance, and they can intervene to try and remove the obstacle. So there is cooperation between managers and workers to ensure that the task is completed and completed efficiently. Tasks and jobs should be divided equally between managers and employees. Managers should undertake tasks which best suit them rather than dumping workload onto employees who are not capable of completing the task. It's also important to establish a good working relationship between employees and managers. So the managers should undertake tasks which best suit them, rather than just simply offloading the work onto the employees who are not capable of completing the task. So if it's the case the employees are not capable of completing the task, but the managers are, then the managers should do it. Clearly some remedial effort has to be put in place here, and the employees should be trained up and given the expertise and enable them to take on the tasks. But the immediacy of the situation may require the managers to intervene and perform the tasks, rather than just passing it off to the workers and hope that they can deal with it. So there should be a good working relationship between managers and employees. Now, the advantages of scientific management was the first to establish a division between employees and managers. So scientific management sees the employees as the ones carrying out various jobs and tasks, and the managers in support, selecting the employees according to ability, providing the right tools and equipment and making sure they're in place, and making sure that there is complete understanding on the part of the employee as to what tasks to undertake and how to go about these particular tasks. Gives importance to employee skills and capabilities. The scientific management approach emphasizes the importance of skills, and the employee should have appropriate skills and capabilities to undertake particular tasks. If the employees are weak in those areas, then perhaps they should be trained. They should be guided or perhaps mentored, or there should be some process within the organization to bring their skills up to the required level. And that will, of course, improve productivity in the long run. Taylor was the first to make contributions on effective and efficient production methods. So it was looking at production methods, but looking at the efficiency of the production method. Prior to Taylor, there were production methods, and there was almost an acceptance of what was coming off at the end. That's as much as could be produced. And the management seemed to accept that that's what the factory or the production process or the production line, that's what it could produce in a day, let's say. Well, Taylor, by looking more critically at all of the individual processes within the plant, was able to bring about dramatic increases in productivity by introducing different working schemes and matching skills and abilities and so on. Effective reward system for employees, which encourages motivation rather than monthly wages. Monthly wages takes away incentive. People will get paid anyway, so they've no real incentive to be innovative or to apply themselves or to be diligent about their tasks. But the removal of the monthly wage, or less emphasis on the monthly wage, means that rewards could be targeted at output. So the workers were paid a piece rate, as it's called. They were paid for the amount that they produced, and that gave them the incentive to apply themselves. There was an early development of quality standards. The scientific approach, it suggested, if it didn't actually do, it suggested the need for quality. So that the employees who had the right skills, the right abilities, matched to the right tasks, with the right tools, the right instructions and directions about how to perform the task, and with benign intervention on the part of management who were watching to make sure that the job was properly done. All of this led to quality. Without emphasizing the need for quality, the whole process led to quality. There was better quality output as a consequence. Emphasis on measurement allows for improvements. When measurements are taken, then the incentive is there to try and improve on those measurements. If it takes an operator a minute to perform a task, could the operator perform the task in 50 seconds? What would have to change to enable the operator to produce the task in 50 seconds? What redesign is required? What exactly is required to reduce the time of the task? So the introduction of measurements allows for improvements, allows people to think about, can it be improved because the task takes so long at the moment, can it be improved? Now the disadvantages of the scientific management, well, may give rise to conflict with labour unions. Organised labour will not be too happy about seeing their members used in this way, used as almost like machines themselves, working to the pace of perhaps a machine, trying to keep up with the machine. And the machine is relentless, it's ongoing, it continually churns out bits and pieces that need to be dealt with by the operator, by the worker. So the working conditions were not very pleasant, and this may lead to conflict with the unions. Scientific management can be easily abused to exploit human beings by putting human beings in positions where they have a very small task to complete. It's very dehumanizing. They might be working on a very small task, but doing many of these every hour. But so they're doing the same task day in, day out. As far as they're concerned, it's for the rest of their lives. So it's quite soul destroying in a sense. It's not very nice for the operators who are involved. So there are movements much later within management theory that suggest that job enrichment, for example, and job rotation and different views of how employees can be deployed within the organization, these are more human, could also be more productive. And indeed, you'll see from videos on the Human Relations School that, for example, the Hawthorne studies, which was conducted by Elton Mayo, suggested that when people were treated more humanely and treated with more respect and given breaks and better working conditions and so on, productivity increased. So the scientific approach tends to, or could be used, to exploit humans. Of course, it's ineffective in groups or teams. the incentives within groups or teams may break down for a start. If a team is given the incentive of getting a particular bonus, not all members of the team may pull their weight. Not all members of the team may contribute fully to the activities of the group, but they will benefit if the group gets the bonus. So this can lead to conflict within groups, arguments about who is trying hard and who's putting in a lot of effort and who's not putting in effort. So it can be very ineffective. It can be, in fact, quite destructive in terms of working relationships. Overall, it tends to treat employees as like they are machines, like they're robots. They perform particular tasks, usually small tasks. The small task may be done repetitively, with thousands done every hour, whatever it is, and it means that the personality of the person doing it is no longer being developed. They don't have social interaction. They don't have perhaps normal interaction that humans over the many millennia that we've been here, we've developed. We want to talk to our colleagues and we want to know what's going on in the organization. We want some respect. We want the opportunity to show what we can do and perhaps advance ourselves. But treating employees like machines means that the employees are performing essentially the same function. And when a machine is developed who can do the task, then the employee is no longer required. So they're only doing it until a machine can replace them. Somebody designs a machine which will replace them. So they're working in the knowledge that one day they're going to be replaced by a machine, perhaps. So there are issues. It doesn't consider employee preferences or initiatives. It doesn't allow for any initiatives. The employees may have ideas about how to improve working conditions, but in a sense nobody's interested. Nobody wants to hear. They just want the job done. They want the employee to focus on the job and just do that. So there's no time wasted in talking about what initiatives could be carried out, or indeed looking at the preferences of the employee, what they would like to do. So that's not an option. They don't talk to the employee and ask what the employee would like to do. They simply tell the employee, this is what needs to be done, stand there and do this, and do it day in, day out, hour in, hour out. And measure the effectiveness of the employee to see if they're meeting the targets. They have taken measurements for how long this task will take. See if the employee is achieving that. And if the employee is not, then the employee may be spoken to sternly by management. So it's a very harsh view of employees in the working situation. It's not very human based. It's more efficiency based. But it's a very important theory for us to understand, because this could act as a benchmark through which we can then go on to look at other theories within the human relations school, for example, and we have a contrast, we have a point of contrast. But that's all I'm going to deal with in this session, so I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.